Hey there, it's another beautiful day. Let's watch some stuff.
If you've been watching Apple's new Lessons in Chemistry series, you might be wondering if frog pregnancy tests are actually a real thing. This contains spoilers, so scroll on if you haven't seen it yet. In the third episode, you can see Elizabeth using the frog pregnancy test method. She uses two frogs and she injects one with her own urine. When that frog has laid a batch of eggs, she knows that she's pregnant. And when I was watching, I just had no idea that this is how we used to do pregnancy tests. This method was actually used up until the 1960s before an animal-free alternative was made. However, we didn't have home pregnancy tests until the 1970s.
I just saw that last night and I was beside myself. A frog. How did they figure out that this even happens? Like, were they just randomly injecting urine into frogs? And it's a specific frog. It's the African clawed frog. And here's the thick of it, right? After they were done like using them for pregnancy tests in the 60s, they released them. And they are highly invasive and they have this fungus on their skin that can be poisonous. It's a chytrid fungus. And so suddenly they're like populating these areas and they're super invasive. And we were just like, hey, oops. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by. If there's a topic you would like me to cover, please let me know in the comments below and I'll do my best to get it in an upcoming video. If you're having a good time, won't you hit that like button for me? It'll really help out my channel. And consider subscribing. Then come back tomorrow, because I'm making a new video every day.
And it's High-Speed Rail Authority. They were raked over the coals big time. So they posted photos of the first completed high-speed rail structures. And I got to tell you, the number, look at this thing. It looks like a slab of concrete just laying there, right? The numbers are mind-boggling. Took 9 years, $11 billion. And you know how long it would take if you wanted to walk across 1,600 feet, the slab? 5 minutes. So it's just nuts. Now, in 2008, these same folks put out a 32-page business plan. They said construction would cost less than $34 billion. Last year, the cost had risen to $128 billion, and the clock keeps ticking. Meanwhile, China, they've actually seen the length of their high-speed rail. By the way, their high speed is really high speed. It goes twice as fast as these California trains. It's grown by 438% from 2010 to last year. You know, after being bombarded with criticism on social media, these folks at the California High-Speed Rail, they decided they would share some pictures. Look at these wonderful pictures of what these train stations are going to look like one day. But it all really is certainly nuts. Here's the thing. I don't know why they would, wouldn't have the private sector do this in the first place.
Wow. So California is literally just batting 1,000 on this project, aren't we? Woo! Yeah. Hundreds of billions of dollars in 16 years, and they've got 1,600 feet done. Yeah, it doesn't get better than that. I mean, China's only quadrupled, more than quadrupled their better high-speed rail. Like, it's better than ours is gonna be, because ours is never gonna be. And it's basically, so that California has essentially put down 100 feet per year on this project since it started. I mean, I could lay more than 100 feet of concrete in a year, and I've never laid concrete a day in my life.
The U.S. Navy has been submitting patents in recent years that seem to depict technologies that are literally from science fiction movies. These patents range from a compact fusion reactor to a hybrid air underwater space vehicle that can travel at incredible speeds in every environment. These out-of-the-world technologies are mostly led by Dr. Salvatore Pais, who is an American aerospace engineer and inventor.
The interesting thing about patents, it's such a hard word to say. It's like rural, rural. Patents. All right, so the interesting thing about patents is you don't have to prove that the device you are patenting actually works. It just, you have your schematics or whatever they require you to submit. I don't know, I've never patented anything, so I don't know. And then, you can work on it. And this guy, he's got like all kinds of backing, right? So he's like got science in his pocket that he can just be like, hey, we're going to work on this. He's got some alien tech on hand too. And he's like, this is what we're going to do with that. And then over time, they just kind of work on it until suddenly it becomes this fantastic chachi bobber that nobody ever had before. And the government can come along and black shelf it for you.
In a move that has raised alarms in the United States and Europe, Russia has conducted tests and developed new military technologies, claiming to be developing weaponry capable of conducting military operations underwater. Concerns over undersea warfare have heightened as Russia unveiled new military assets designed to carry out attacks and countermeasures beneath the sea. These systems include transport vehicles and advanced sensor equipment, allowing them to carry out military missions without the need to surface. Russia's actions have particularly worried the US and NATO member countries in Europe, with fears that Moscow's increased military activities underwater will escalate pressure and create an unstable security environment. Amid escalating tensions between Russia and the West, along with the rise of cyber attacks and military activities in the Black Sea and Baltic Sea, Russia's continued development of such weapons will further escalate tensions in the region. However, Russia defends the development of these military systems as part of its efforts to protect national interests and respond to similar activities by international counterparts. Moscow also emphasizes that they have no intention of using these weapons for terrorism or threatening any other country. Nevertheless, the emergence of Russia's new military systems underwater still raises concerns about escalating arms race and increased pressure in a period of international tension. Western countries need to continue monitoring and carefully assessing the impacts of these developments to ensure security and stability in the region.
You want to hear a story? I think of myself as a well-educated person. I'm not like hyper educated, but I went through a good school system before it turned into the crap that it is now, right? All right, and I watched a lot of science fiction. I love sci-fi. That is my jam. But I never really did like explore these conspiracy theories, no research or anything like that. I kept myself in a nice little bubble. And I'm a pretty simple person. I'm simple. That's all there is to it. I laugh really easily. I don't need a whole lot. I'm very entertained most of the time, and I'm perfectly content with doing nothing. Okay? Now, when Jerry, my brother from another mother, comes along and he suggests undersea hybrid warfare, my simple ass mind thinks, are they like crossbreeding animals in the ocean? For why? I completely negated the whole warfare part, right? And then I found this. That's not as fun as I thought it was gonna be. That's like terrifying stuff, right? It's Russia over here freaking advancing their military stuff, and that's something to keep an eye on. I wish it was as simple as like crossbreeding sharks and jellyfish.
If you ever wonder why Dubai has like this gold market, it's because there's a great chance that the gold you're buying from Dubai or the UAE in general could be stolen gold from indigenous populations in Africa. An investigation was made by Swiss said that finds Abu Dhabi received $115 billion worth of illicit gold from the African continent in 10 years. So just to give you an idea of what that's worth, 10 years ago, that amount would have been roughly a little bit less than half of their entire GDP. So they're getting right now, this makes up about over 20% of their current GDP. There is nothing like that anywhere else in any other country. But to be fair, they're not the only ones, obviously, right? 80% of smuggled gold is taken by 3 countries. And these 3 countries, well, actually you'd be surprised. Well, not really surprised. It's the UAE, India, and Switzerland. Interesting how Switzerland has all this precious gold, but not a single gold mine in this country, or how they're able to produce the best chocolate. But last I remember, chocolate doesn't, or the plants for it doesn't grow in Switzerland. This is theft 101. This is colonization 101. This is piracy 101. And keep in mind the history of the UAE. It was literally a pirate state. They made their funds, or a good portion of their funds, yes, through pearl diving and getting pearls and selling them, but it thrived off piracy. Yes, like pirates. So it's safe to say it's in their blood. It's in their culture. They're going to keep doing it. And a lot of the conflicts that we see happening in Africa, whether it's Sudan, Congo, Libya, can be directly tied to UAE. If the UAE stops, we know the conflict in Sudan would stop. We know the conflict in Libya would stop, and it will put a tremendous damper on what's happening in the Congo.
I wasn't expecting those three countries, but then as soon as he said Switzerland, I mean, it made me realize, okay, all of these people have these Swiss bank accounts, right? It's in the movies and you hear it on the news. Oh, they had extra Swiss bank accounts. So, why wouldn't they be like, oh, well, I have a safe box there and it's got all this gold. Or they take all their gold there and they're like, hey, let's cash it out for some money. So yeah, smuggled money into the Swiss bank accounts because it's not trackable. There's something with Swiss bank accounts that I'm not brilliant enough about, but I know that there is a thing with Swiss bank accounts. But still, that is a lot of Congolese gold in frickin' Dubai, right? Fair warning, this one is a little graphic. So this bird flu is really picking up. I mean, hundreds of millions of birds have been slaughtered just for the bird flu, not for food. Maybe chickens just won't be a food for a while, or at all anymore if it continues.
There are fears of an egg shortage in Melbourne this morning after a bird flu outbreak at a farm west of the city in Meredith. The farm has been placed in quarantine and 400,000 birds have been euthanised to prevent a wider outbreak. Also, a child in Victoria has become Australia's first confirmed human case of an emerging bird flu strain after returning from India in March.
Don't worry, it's not time to start panicking just yet. I think we're getting close though. Australia. Mandy, SpaceX. Hey, if you're watching one, thanks for watching. And what's going on down there, huh? You're my Australian insider. Is there like a hubbub about this whole case? Is the child okay? Are they shutting things down? Are you out of eggs?
The U.S. government will pay Moderna $176 million to develop a pandemic vaccine that could treat people infected with bird flu as cases in dairy cows continue to rise across the country. The funds will pay for the development of the vaccine that uses the mRNA technology that helped with the rapid development of COVID-19 vaccines. It will be released through the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the vaccine company will launch trials to determine the effectiveness and the safety of the potential vaccines.
Well, I'll give them one thing. They're getting on a vaccine before it becomes, way worse than it actually is. While it's slowly becoming a thing, they're getting on the vaccine. I'm not going to be first in line to get that, though. I learned my lesson the first time. Speaking of the first time when COVID-19 actually became a thing, my entire house was all aboard the Freakazoid train. Mainly because my 95-year-old grandfather lived with us and he had COPD and dementia, and the last thing we wanted to do was get him sick, right? So we were like, shut it down. And then we realized we're being a little silly and loosened it up a little bit. But yeah, it seems to be like this is gaining momentum. Not only are chickens being taken out, a lot of cattle are being taken out, and it's starting to get into people. So yeah, that sucks. Let's see what happens. I had to throw something silly in there. Thanks so much for sharing your time with me. Come on back tomorrow. We're going to watch some new stuff. I'll say different things, and it's going to be fantastic. Until then, have a wonderful day.